Hi everyone! Hope everybody had a wonderful long Easter weekend, and I know it was different for us than what we normally do, and I'm sure that it was different for many of you too, but I hope you had a wonderful weekend. We are down here again at Mom and Dad's house, and we are out in the cattle lot, and Dad's going to be feeding hay out here in the cattle lot. So I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see him coming down in here with his tractor. So you can kind of get your bearings a little bit. There's the barn where the bottle calves are at, and he's coming through. He has 2 bales of hay that he's bringing in. Well, actually, nope, he's just got one right now. He has 1 bale on the front, and then he's got this spike on the back that he can use to bring hay down from where we store it. So what we're doing right now is this is the lot where all the bigger calves are at that we have weaned, and they are now in the lot basically kind of fattening up. And right now all of the calves are locked into, we call it the hay lot, so that way he can keep the gates open and come in and out without worrying about the calves getting out of the lot. So he's brought this hay bale in, and he's going to be putting it in hay racks. And so you'll remember that whenever we fed the hay out in the field, that he just unrolled it out in the field. Well, when we feed the calves in the lot or out in the hay lot, we put them in these things called hay racks. And so the hay racks basically just keep the hay in one place so the cows don't drag it out as much and waste the hay. Hi Brennan, I'm glad you're watching this morning. So out in the field, we're able to spread it out and unroll it, and the cows will eat it all when it's on the flat grass. But as you can tell, the lot out here is, it's a mess. There's mud out here, there's poop out here, there's just all kinds of stuff. So we don't want the cows eating the hay off of that. So we put them in these hay racks so they'll eat it. And each of these hay racks had a bale of hay in it at one point in time, and you can see that they've eaten it down over here. Here's one that hasn't really been eaten down that I'm standing behind. So Dad has to do the same kind of thing that he did out in the field. He has to take the twine that's around it and cut it off so that way the cows can get to it. Normally, he will feed hay out here in what we call the hay lot. So that's where the cows are all at, or calves are all at right now. And you can see that there are hay bales that are kind of up on that hill. Normally he feeds it out there just so he doesn't have as much stuff here in the regular lot. But unfortunately it is too muddy out there right now. And even with his big 4-wheel drive tractor, he could easily get stuck out there. So he's feeding it inside this lot right now. So already what he has done is he's taken the tractor up the road to where we store the hay, where we saw it up by the White House before, and he brought down 2 bales of hay at a time. He had one on the front and one on the back, and he brought 6 bales of hay down here to the house so that way it wouldn't take quite as long for us whenever we're recording. Because if he has the travel time in there to get up to the White House, that would probably add on another 15 or 20 minutes. So, like I said, today he has 6 bales of hay that he's going to be feeding. We were talking before we came out here, before I started the video, and he was saying that the calves that he has out in the lot right now will eat through about 10 bales of hay a week. So this load right here will last for a couple of days before he has to go through and refill it. Hi Tanja. You sure you don't want to come down and help help get the hay in? Be some good old times. You can see with the bale that it's really high up in the air. Remember from whenever we rode in the tractor before, he has the special handles inside the tractor that he uses to make it go up and down and tilt it. So because he has to cut around some corners with the gates, that way he can make it through. If you watched this weekend when we came out on Saturday, I did a special Saturday edition because my plan is to just do these videos on the days when we would be in school during a typical and normal school year. Saturday, we worked on getting cows and calves in from the field. So we got them in from this field up here and brought them on down and sorted them out. While we were working those cows and getting the cow and calf pairs together, all of the weaned calves that are now locked out in the hay lot were actually locked over there. There's a little area that's outside that's kind of a little corral that they go in. When we sorted the calves and cow pairs this weekend, one of the things that we did after we sorted them, we put them into these two, I guess you could kind of call them holding pens. There are two spots in here that are locked off that we can open and close the gate to. So once we found a cow and calf pair, we would put them in here. And that sounds like a really easy thing to do, but it's really not, because they're animals and they don't really want to go where you want them to go. But we put the cow and calf pairs in here to keep them in one place and to hold them in there until we have enough for a load to put into a cattle trailer. So we were able to get 7 pairs, so 7 cows with their 7 calves in a trailer at a time, to load them up and take them over to the new field. And we were taking them over to the new field so that way they had some more grass over there. And it's also a field where it's easier to work them whenever the vet comes out to do their shots and their castrations and all of that good stuff. So a couple other things that you might see out here that are interesting. You remember we have the hay troughs, or excuse me, not the hay troughs, the feed troughs. This is where we feed the grain. So each of these troughs, I believe we're feeding 3 buckets of grain. It's been a little bit since I fed, but I believe we're feeding 3 buckets of grain per trough. And you can see we have quite a few troughs out here, so it takes a little bit to feed them. Mom and Dad typically do that in the morning. So the cows that are being weaned out here in the field, they get the hay that's out here, and then they get the grain every day. They also have 3 big troughs of water that get fresh water run into it every day from the hose, so that way they have fresh food and fresh water every day. Here I come again. So right now you can probably tell that this lot it's a pretty big mess right now. We have over 100 big calves in the lot right now that are being weaned, and so they produce a big mess. They make a lot of messy poop. And so here, probably in the next week or so, Dad's going to be coming out with the tractor and the blade on it to clean the lot out. Underneath all of this is concrete. You can kind of see it's concrete under there somewhere. So he'll be coming out to clean the lot out a little bit to make it hopefully a little bit more clean for at least a couple of days. So when he does that, we'll probably come out and do a video of that, because he'll be using a different attachment to the tractor than what we've seen before. So that'll be kind of fun to see something different. And you know, we've talked about how there are a lot of things that happen on the farm that people don't always think about. You know, they don't think about how all the animals have to have specific kinds of food and water and all the things that we have to do in order for them to have that food and water. And you know, feeding hay to the cows and calves is something that's really important that we do, but it takes a lot of time, and it's not always super fun and exciting driving back and forth in a tractor and pulling the twine off, but it's one of those things that it has to be done in order to make the farm operate and for the cows and calves to survive. And there he goes again. And you can see kind of off in the distance, perhaps, Dad's in the way right now. Got the bottle calves that are in their little spot underneath the barn. I'm assuming they've already been fed, but they're probably just excited to see what's going on. When we let them out last week to run around so you could see them a little bit better after we fed them, we had a little bit of a time getting them in because they were super excited to run around and jump around and just go all the way around the lot. So that was kind of interesting and fun trying to get them back in the field, or back in the lot. All right, well, that's where we're at right now. You can actually, I'll walk down here a little bit so you can see the cows that are down here, and hopefully I don't get stuck or slip and fall in this mess. Luckily, I remember to wear my boots. You always want to make sure that when you're out in muddy, yucky messes like this, that you wear boots. Shoes, if you wear tennis shoes, can get stuck in this mess, just like if you go out into a mud puddle. They can get really messy. These boots keep my feet clean and dry. So when we started feeding the calves, or feeding the hay today, all the calves were pretty well spread out down kind of in the bottom and weren't really crowding up here, but this is the gate that we open up to let them into this regular part of the lot. So you can see they're getting pretty excited. They know that they're getting some fresh hay out here, and even though they have other hay back here, they still like the good stuff. They like the new stuff that Dad's putting out. So they are all anxiously awaiting to be able to be let out. One of the reasons that we store the hay up at the other house is because it kind of sits up on a hill up there, and so that means that water doesn't really pool around it. Remember that if water gets into the hay, it can rot it and it makes it bad for the cows and calves to eat. So we store it up there because it's up on top of a hill and water will drain away from it and not pool around it. You probably don't really notice it, but Mom and Dad's house is kind of in a little bit of a valley, and while water drains pretty well around it, it's just easier to get the hay up there. Also, another reason we keep it up there at that house is because the majority of the hay that we use, we buy from somebody else who bales it from their property. And so that house is a little bit easier to get in and out of whenever the hay is delivered. The hay is delivered with a big semi, and it has a trailer on the back of it. And I'll have to ask Dad how many bales they can get in one load. Might be 8. I don't know, Mom might be able to help me out with that, with how many bales they can deliver at a time. But they use a trailer, or I thought Mom responded to me. They use a big semi-truck to pull the load of hay, and then they use a tractor to unload it, just like what Dad's doing here. So we keep the hay up at that house because it's a little bit easier for those big semis to get in and out and to unload the hay up there than it is for them to come down here and try to make the corner down here on the road and navigate down here with all of the animals. And let's see how many. We are up to 4 bales of hay now. Looks like we left a little bit on here. And just as a reminder, this twine that's around the hay bale, this kind of feels it's like plastic. It's like what you get on a Walmart sack. And this is wrapped all the way around the hay bale, and this helps the water stay off of the hay bale. And remember, we have to take it off. Oh, if it's Daryl. Oh, thanks, Kim. Yeah, Kim said that if it's usually 8 bales that are delivered at a time. So this wrapping, the netting that's on here, remember we have to stick it someplace else so that way it doesn't get drug out. One of the things that we see sometimes is when we have the cows in here, the longhorn cows, like when we bring them into the lot, like we did this weekend, their horns can get caught in here, and they get through the holes. Usually they can get it off themselves, but sometimes we have to help them with getting it off their horns. But that's one of the reasons that we stick this bale wrapping someplace else where it's not going to be in an area where the cows can get to it. So you can see he's using his knife to get it off. Dad, is it 8 bales that they bring in whenever they deliver it?
What?
When they bring a load of hay in, is it 8 bales on the trailer, typically?
No, there'll be, on the semis, they'll bring 24 to 30 bales in.
At a time, like in one load?
Yes, on the semi.
Oh, okay.
I've got one that holds 6. The guy that brings some in holds 7.
Okay. So, there are different kinds of trailers that can be used to bring hay in. So Dad has a trailer called, apparently a dump trailer, that can get 6 bales on it at a time. Dad said that whenever the semis come in, I was really off. He said they can bring in 24 to 30 bales at a time. So it's a big load. How many pounds? About how big are these hay bales? How heavy?
These bales here will weigh 1,200 to 1,500 pounds apiece. Some of them will weigh only 1,000, 1,200, but these are very big bales here. These are almost full size and they're packed real tight.
Okay. So these can get up to 1,500 pounds because they're so big and they're really tightly wrapped.
And mixed grass, a little bit of clover in it.
Okay. So a lot of the grass that you'll see out in the fields, just regular fields, it's going to be fescue grass, and that's the kind of hay that this is. This is fescue with some clover in it, which the cows really like to eat. Alright, so looks like we've got one more bale to feed, and then Dad'll come down and open the gate up for the calves to come back through. Let's see. Yep, they're still down there waiting. They're pretty excited to come in and get some of this new hay. This one is really interesting. You can see what's happened to this bale, how it's kind of come apart a little bit. Remember we said that this is hay that's just all kind of wrapped up in a circle. You can see how it's starting to come apart as it was pushed from the bottom. Move out of the way. So for tomorrow, our plan is for our video to come back down and candle the chicken eggs and the duck eggs again. Remember, it takes 21 days for a chicken egg to be ready to hatch after the chicken goes broody on it, and a duck is 21 days. And so we looked at them last week on Wednesday, so now it's going to be 7 more days, so we'll see if we can see some difference in the development inside the egg whenever we candle it. So another thing that you might notice is all the different gates that we have in here, and how they're all kind of spaced out. So like right now I am inside a pen that has 2 swinging doors on it on the outside that lead into the barn where there are 2 holding areas. This is just one of the ways that we're able to separate cows and calves and sort them and have them in different holding pens. We have another gate that is right here that closes. Oh, sorry, Mom, did I switch them on the days? So we can close this gate, and normally when the grain gets fed to the calves, we close this gate because it locks the calves out of this area, so we can leave the big gate up there open so we can walk back and forth without having to worry about the calves coming in and coming out. And then there's also another gate that's right here that can be closed. So it's a lot of gates, a lot of thinking about how to set up the lot to make sure that we can operate in here whenever we're moving calves around and moving cows around. So it all makes sense in Dad's mind whenever he sets things up. Doesn't always make sense in my mind, but it ends up working out. You can probably hear some of the chickens in the background and the roosters in the background just clucking and crowing. They like to come down in here and scrounge around, see what kinds of things they can find out here to eat. They're used to the tractor, so they move out of the way whenever the tractor comes in and out and moves around. So I don't think we've ever had any loss of life of chickens when we've been out here. They know to move out of the way just like the cows know to move out of the way whenever the tractor is coming through. All right. Hey, Dad. Pretty sure he's going to come on down here and open the gate up. Are you opening this gate? Are you opening this gate down here for the calves? Okay. We'll see if he'll call the calves. That's pretty fun to hear. Another big thing that you learn whenever you're on the farm is to make sure that you always close the gates that you open and don't leave them open. You know, there were times when I was younger that I forgot that very important step, and then had to spend time running around and getting animals that had gotten out back in, which is not fun, especially when Dad is unhappy that I forgot to close the gate. So it's a lesson that you learn really quickly on the farm, especially when there's animals around that can run fast. Right, Dad?
What?
One of the first lessons you learn on the farm is to close what you open.
That's right.
So they won't be quite as excited as they are whenever we open the gate for them to get grain. But they'll still be pretty pumped to be able to get back in here. They're not quite sure about me. I think they're going to get grain again. They are sorely mistaken. Yeah, that's what I was just saying. So they've already been fed grain this morning. They thought they were going to get a double helping today. I don't have anything for you. Shh. You're fine. You're fine. So one of the things that I do whenever I'm out here with these weaned calves is I always make sure to walk on the edges of them, close to the fence. They're not as used to me as they are to Dad, so if they see me walking or hear me talking, they're going to spook a little bit more and run around and get skittish. Whereas Dad, they're used to him, so he can just walk through them with no problem. And they're pretty excited to come up and get some fresh water. Oh, bud, I don't have anything for you. All right, so you got to see another chore that we do out here on the farm, feeding the hay to the calves. And you can see it's just another thing that's done around here on the farm so that way we make sure that the cows and calves have everything that they need. Is that a cow in there?
Oh, that's a blind steer.
Oh, that's right. All right, well, I'm going to turn everybody around. All the calves are wanting to get up here to get some fresh water. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this morning, and tomorrow morning, well, I'm assuming tomorrow morning, but tomorrow we'll be candling the chicken and the duck eggs to see what kind of progress they've made with their development. And I will let you know what time we're doing that on Facebook. So if you have any questions about anything, you can post them in the comments, and I will ask Dad and then reply to that. He's always happy to answer any questions that you have. All the cows are over here checking out what's going on. All right, guys, well, I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you later.